Tornado season is upon us. The city of Bristol, Tennessee is taking advantage of 21st century technology.
What we have done is looked at how we alert the public during weather emergencies. And a couple of the things that we've come up with is, one, a new program that we have called Delta Alert. And it is a program where we can call out to the public and provide a pre-recorded message of the emergency, but also the sounding of our sirens. You know, Bristol's had sirens since around the 1950s. Fortunately, we've not had to use them for several years, but with the weather lately, the practice of sounding the alert sirens have come back up. And basically what we're going to do is, during any tornado warning that we are issued by the National Weather Service, that we will sound the warning sirens. One of the questions that we get quite a bit is, well, what is a warning? You know, you hear on the news you'll have a tornado watch or a thunderstorm watch or a warning. The warning is the more severe information that comes out from the National Weather Service. And a warning basically means that the conditions are right and either a tornado has already begun or is a great chance that a tornado will happen during that storm cell that comes through. Because of the severity of the warning, we have chosen to use that as our benchmark to send out the Delta Alert to the public, but also to sound the warning sirens. With our warning sirens that we have for tornado warnings, we do test those every Saturday at noon. So if it's a pretty day outside and they hear the warning sirens go off at noon on Saturday, they know it's a testing procedure and not to be alarmed by the siren itself. However, if there's any threat of severe weather during Saturday at that time frame, we will not test the sirens. And then that way, if we have to set them off, they'll know that it's for a warning and not testing. The other difference is, in a testing pattern, the siren only runs for a very brief period of time. In a real event, the sirens will run for a minimum of 3 minutes, but we will maintain the siren throughout the warning of the threat of the tornado.
The Delta Alert is a new emergency notification system that cities put in, and it is a telephone, internet-based system. It's through the IP. It's very fast. It's a very robust system. It gives you a lot of choices in how to notify the public in an emergency. You know, we had an old system. It was old technology. It was based on 8 phone lines. It would take 40-45 calls a minute, best we could do. Now, with this new system, we can do up to 1,000 calls a minute, which in a city of our size, that means you can notify about everybody in less than 30 minutes. It always starts out with, "This is an emergency message." And we started out that way so people will know right up front this is not a telemarketer calling. The average emergency message is about 30 seconds. We do ask that you listen to the entire message because it's going to tell you what type of emergency is in the area and what you need to do for that emergency and where to tune in for more information if you need it. At the end of the message, included in that 30-second time frame, they'll ask you to hit a button to confirm that you received the message, so that will stop the calls from coming more at that time, and it will ask you if you want to opt out of the system. Now, if you choose to opt out of the system, that means you won't get any calls from us ever again for any type of emergency. An important thing to remember is the system can set off anytime, day or night. If we have a tornado warning goes out 3 o'clock in the morning, we can set the system off so that you get notified and wake up. A lot of people don't have weather radios. They don't have any means of knowing, and I would hate to think we had somebody in the city that was asleep and a tornado coming through their neighborhood. During this time, we ask you, after you get the call from us, please don't call the police department or the fire department or 911 unless you have an emergency. Now, if you have an emergency, don't hesitate to call. If you think you have an emergency, don't hesitate to call. But don't call to just get information or to tell us you got the call or you want to opt out of the system or any of those type things. Please wait till after the storm or the event is over. With the Delta system, we can obviously set out other public information messages we need to. We can send out non-emergency or emergency message. Some of the things might be, for instance, a hazmat spill in the area where we need to notify people to shelter in place, or maybe we need to notify them to evacuate. It could be a lost or endangered adult or child that's missing in a certain area, and we need the help of the neighborhood to locate that person. There are a lot of events where we would like to be able to get the message out to the public and let them help us be the eyes and ears and take care of some situations. And the Delta Alert gives us the ability to do that. The system will not only call wireline telephones, your home phone, it will also call your cell phones. It will do email, SMS messages, text messages. So if you want to give us that information, obviously all I have, unless you give it to me, is your home phone number if it's a wireline. So if you would like to give that information to us so that we can notify you in any of these other methods or your extra phones, you can go to the City of Bristol website, which is bristoltn.org. Go to the organization, police department, and the second icon down says Delta Alert. And there's an opt-in feature there that you can fill out and put in as many phone numbers, emails, text message numbers as you want to. Also on the Bristol, Tennessee 911 website, it's Bristol with Tennessee spelled out, 911.com, and you go to current news, and there's an icon on the bottom of the news article where you can opt into the system. If you don't have access to an internet and you want to call our offices, you can call me Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 at 423-989-5653, and we can put you in the system within seconds. If you call and give us your information, or you opt into the system and you give us your email address and your home phone and your cell phones, we do not give that information to anyone. We don't give it away, we don't distribute it, and we don't sell it. It's strictly for our use in an emergency.
So if there is a tornado and you get the call, what do you do?
Depending on your house structure, you've got to go to the lowest point of the structure so that you'll be in a safe area. Because when we talk about winds coming across in excess of 50, 100 miles an hour, it's going to travel its least resistance just like everything else, and it'll skim across the top of the ground. So the upper portion of the structure is the one that's going to sustain the damages. And if you're down below, it may not be affected, or if you get some type of collapse, you have voids in those places, which gives you air pockets. So that's why they tell you to seek shelter at the lowest point. If you only live in a single-story structure, then you want to get to the center portion of the structure where it's more stable, away from windows and exterior walls, so that way you'll be safe, so that it has a lot more to impact. And that way, if the outside of the structure starts becoming flying debris, then you've got other walls to slow it down so that protect you in those cases. Cars, mobile homes, all those things, RVs, that most metal buildings that don't have substantial structure with those, that you want to go ahead and evacuate those areas. If you have time to evacuate your trailers, then you want to get in your vehicles and drive in the opposite direction of where your weather has been forecast for those storms to be coming. You should have a plan in action before that transpires, so you know exactly where you want to go. You know, have multiple locations, or if you don't have enough time for that purpose, then you want to get outside the structure and maybe look for a low-lying area such as a ditch or places like that, to where you can protect yourself, or maybe even behind a knoll or something, because once it hits those knolls, then it will bounce over top of those areas and protect you in those cases, laying low to the ground. And we encountered this situation here in recent storms, is regardless if you're put in the basement structures and your smoke alarms go off, maybe the structure may have got struck by lightning. If you have a fire situation, you need to make evacuation plans for that, even though we have severe weather. The dangers of trying to deal with the elements of the storm versus being in a fire situation where the smoke is thick, you're not able to breathe, you need to evacuate your structure instead of trying to stay in those low-lying areas just because there is a tornado warning, because it would be more devastating to you if the structure is actually on fire than it would be if you tried to deal with the elements out in the storm. You need to inventory everything you have in your structure as well, so you have that inventory and keep those at different locations. Then you want to have a kit that if you have to evacuate immediately, already have it prepared. I kind of look at it like you would be if a mother and a father is expecting their first child. They get that kit ready, so when the wife says it's time to go to the hospital, I'm ready to have my baby, they've got that in place because she's already got prepared what she needs to take to the hospital, as well what you need, because in those stressful situations when you're trying to get that done. So you need to have that prepared, such as sleeping bags. Again, we talk about the food rations that won't perish. You know, the radios that work off the batteries and extra batteries, such as the NOAA weather radios, as well as the portable radios. maybe have an extra battery for your cell phone. A lot of people don't think about getting that extra battery to keep it charged to put in that pack, because you may be without electricity, so that may be the only telephone source you have. So with these cell phone deals that you keep in an extra battery pack, you can have that in there as well as lighting, camping supplies such as some matches, lighters and stuff, to maybe even you have to use some of the wood from a disaster situation to build your fire to cook with. So there's many different things that you can do to have that prepared, and just have it sitting at a location that you could grab it on your way out the door, maybe even keeping some of that stuff in your vehicle. So you just need to have that stuff ready for you.